In today's episode, I want to go into something, partially the reason why I haven't been posting as much is because I was away in Indonesia shooting one of our photographers' weddings. And that got me thinking, what is the approach when you're photographing a friend's wedding, when you're photographing a family's wedding? How do you approach it if it's any different than a normal client, a normal couple that you're shooting? So today I want to get into a few tips as to how to approach it, because it is a little bit different, because the approach from the couple's perspective is going to be a little bit different. How do I deal with it? I think the best way to answer it is going back to when I had to photograph a few photographers' weddings. And if you think shooting a wedding for a normal civilian is stressful enough, imagine shooting somebody that knows exactly what you're doing to some degree, knows the settings, knows what lens you're using, so knows pretty much what you're getting. And to have that kind of pressure on you that you have to deliver is definitely something that in the beginning I thought about a lot. Now, the way that I took myself out of being overly nervous about that is I had to have like a talk with myself and go, they chose you because of your work. They chose you because they saw your work and they said, I like their work. I want to hire them for my wedding. So the only thing that you can do is give them something that's going to be comparable to something that they've seen before, and also give them something new. Obviously sprinkle in, some new stuff too, but give them something that's going to be comparable to what they've seen. And if you do that, you've delivered as to what your brand is and as to what they expected. So going to the point of this video, when we were going to Bali to shoot John Chris's wedding, I had to think of it as still a job. So even though they're my really, really good friends and I really appreciate them and all that, I still have to treat it like a job. I can't just treat it like, oh, I'm just hanging out with my friends. We still got to do wedding party photos. We still have to do family photos. We still have to do bride and groom photos. We still have to make sure that the first dance gets captured. All these things still need to happen. Not only that, I'm shooting it by myself because I'm 24 hours away from where I live. So I still had to approach this from a sense of there has to be some sort of organization on my end to make sure that, yes, I love you guys as my friends, but right now I'm your photographer and I have to make sure that we get these shots. And that not only applies to them as a couple, but other professionals that I'm working with as well. So for example, the venue that they selected, they included a photographer and a videographer in their packages. And as far as I know, John Chris, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, they would charge the couple if they chose not to have those vendors. So in a situation like that, it's not the first time it's happened. I just tell them, hey, just make sure that that other team knows that we take precedence as far as lead for the day. And there were some moments with the other photographer and the other videographer where they kind of were stepping in a little too much. And eventually I had to say something. I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to be rude, but they flew me 24 hours over here to make sure that I capture their wedding and make sure that I give them something that they've seen before. So I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to take more charge of this and I need to get the shots that I need. Once I talked to them like that, they backed off and just kind of let me do a little bit more of what I needed to do. And again, it wasn't to puff my chest up or anything like that. It was because my responsibility was to my friends and make sure that they got the photos that they expect from us, from TNK Photo. I think that the best advice I can give you guys is if you're shooting a friend's wedding, cousin's wedding, anybody, don't approach it like, oh, they're gonna forgive me if I miss these shots because they're my friend or they're my That's a terrible mentality to go into it with. You wanna go into it with, I wanna blow them away because I care about them so much. So with John Chris and Roxy, I was sweating more than I'm sweating right now because I shut off the AC to film this. I was sweating so freaking much by the end of the night. Those pants were just, straight to the dry cleaners after that. I had to put them in a plastic bag for the ride home because everything was just sweaty because I was running so damn much. I ended up filling up a 128 gigabyte card on that day because even though I was shooting it by myself, I understood that I still wanted to get some group photos. I still wanted to get the details that normally our second photographer would be getting. I still wanted to do getting ready of both of them. Just because I was by myself, it didn't mean that I can phone it in and go, no, it's okay if I miss that, I'm by myself. Hell no. It doesn't matter if you're by yourself. You gotta get what you need to get. And I know what photos we're supposed to be getting, even if it's one photographer or two photographers. I think the approach that you you should take when shooting a friend's wedding is, and I don't mean to say it like this, but this is almost more important because they're my friends. I want to make sure that I deliver and I want to make sure that they're happy. I still sent them the timeline form that I send our couples. I still asked them to send me the timeline breakdown for the reception that the venue normally sends. I went the day before and did the walkthrough with them to make sure to see where I want to be shooting during what times, where we can do the first look, all these things. Now, if you don't have the luxury of being able to check it out beforehand, definitely arrive extra early. So if I had not seen the venue beforehand, I would have gotten there at least an hour early, maybe said hi to them, maybe not. Sometimes I don't say hi to them. If they're my friends, this is the only area where like I kind of approach it differently. I would go in and say, hey dude, what's up? I'm just gonna go and, look around, see where we're gonna do things. With a normal couple, I usually don't like going into the room until we're ready to shoot because, let's be honest, they probably don't know what time it is. So they think that you're on the clock and you're over here scouting. So it doesn't look good. Even though you are correct, people might still look at it a different way. Like he arrived an hour early and then we didn't see him for an hour. It's silly, I understand that, it's semantics, but it's, with a friend I can do that. So when I got there, I still scouted a little bit more to make sure that the lighting was where I wanted it to be during that day. But if you have the luxury to check it out beforehand, check it out. Do the timeline, email or chat or anything like that. Get all the information that you need. Get the information of the vendor. So I had the information of the planner there. She was extremely helpful and, it really made my day a lot smoother. And like I was saying, treat it exactly the same way as you would a regular wedding. So I had my backup equipment. I had backup flashes. I had my light stand set up already. I had my light stand with me, whether I used off-camera flash or not, it was ready with me in case I needed it. So if you're shooting by yourself, just set it up on a light stand right from the beginning. If you're a second shooter, we tell this to our second shooters all the time, set your flash on a light stand. If you need to use it, you have it. And if you don't need to use it, it's there just in case. So that's another thing, having your backup equipment, having your lighting set up ready. So that way you're not scrambling looking for equipment when you need it. Another note that I wrote is blend in. So just because you're shooting your friend's wedding doesn't mean you're gonna show up in shorts. So even though it was extremely hot and extremely humid, I knew what they were gonna be dressing like because obviously I saw the invitation. So I dressed accordingly. I still wore a black suit with, what I always wear. And then the only difference is I took off the jacket like immediately. So, you still dress the part. Don't show up dressing completely casual. And I can make a whole video on this, if you guys want to watch it, let me know. But still look the part. Just because it's your friends, don't show up looking like you're, going out with your friends or whatever, hanging out. It's still a wedding and you still should treat it the same way. And then as far as the approach after the fact, same exact way. I did some 5-starring. I sent them some sneak peeks pretty quickly afterwards. And then the wedding is actually already edited and delivered. We delivered it last night, which is under a month, which is exactly what we always aim for. And again, I approached it the same exact way. Did the sneak peeks, I sent the raws and I sent the catalog to our editor. They started editing it. I went through it, let them know what changes needed to be made, and then we delivered it to our couple. So just because it's a friend doesn't mean you slack off or go, oh, this is gonna take longer. No, you treat it exactly the same way as any regular job. Any regular wedding. So let me know what you guys think. This was just something that I was thinking about because obviously we just delivered the wedding and it made me think about, how I approached it. Maybe it's something that can help some of you guys. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I can always break down any side subjects. So any little thing on the side, like, oh, a little question about this that's related to this, I'll make a whole video about that. That's totally cool. I've done a lot of those like that because you guys leave comments, which I appreciate. Anyway, guys, if you made it to the end, if you learned something, if you'd like to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And I'm gonna keep posting as much as I possibly can. Thank you guys so much for watching.